pop. Okay, so let's talk about our, let's say, second
Yes.
lesson. Well, first of all, again, we're still emphasizing the idea of having classroom routine, classroom procedure with everyone in the class. So again, just going back to the seating chart, using the popsicle sticks at the beginning of the class, remind them what materials they need before they come in, so they know exactly what they need to have. And as I said, having the timer on the screen, so they see that they need to start working on something once they enter the class. So this is something just to help them with the routine. As I said, working on the do now, their warm up at the beginning of the class, and using what we call it like CHAMS posters. So just again giving the reminders about the expectations. This is independent work, this is zero voice level. So yeah, always just, you know, let them hear the expectations. I know like it's written, it's posted on Google Classroom for them also, but just to use, you know, kind of like share the expectations verbally as well for them. So this was again showing in the class, in the video. Yeah, I mean that day they were a little bit kind of like too excited. It was the Saudi National Day, and they came from an assembly, and then they had it also another activity after the class. So it was
a fun day.
It was
a fun day. It was fun to see them all dressed up, and I was actually surprised. I think going back and editing the video, it was, their energy was really high, but I was surprised at how well the engagement actually was, considering all the distractions and how excited they were about the long weekend and everything. So it was good to see. It was a fun day.
Yeah. And again, good to have that, because with all the transitions that we had, but they still like, because they know the expectations, so like it will somehow like, you know, they will know that they need, so now it's time to work, this is what we need to do, so they know the expectations. So yeah, I would say when it comes to, as well, like if we're gonna look at the first standard, learner development, recognizing the patterns of learning and development across the, you know, talking about the social, emotional, physical areas. I would say, like, you know, we're talking about the instructions that you share during the class time. Again, clear instructions, so they know exactly what they need to do. And, you know, they could also feel that, you know, that kind of mutual respect between you and them. So that would also make it easier for them to take these instructions and start it with the assignment or the work, the activity that they have. So this actually was really, you know, there in that class. As I said, when you have the discussion with them, and again, you emphasize that you use the message where, like, you know, this is a big day, and I know you guys, you are excited. Like, you know, like you understand them and you understand their excitement, but let's use that in a positive way, you know, in our class. So that was really something that would, you know, for their emotional needs, and
it works.
Meeting that needs. So this is like what I would say, like in this part I would be like, you know, showing the proficient in that part, in that standard. The other thing is, because when we look back at the other activities during the class time, so you started with a do now, looking at some images, endoscopy images, and trying to like to share the differences and all of that. And again, having that strategy of asking them to call on someone else to keep the engagement level in the class, to motivate also everybody to share. This is again very, very great when it comes also to give others, you know, opportunity to share and ask and answer. So like really here feeling valued and mutual respect. So this is, it shows that. And always I would say, like, because when we talk about, when we have diverse, you know, scholars here, so we're talking about also like kind of different, let's say, diverse abilities as well. So whenever you ask questions or someone would answer, then you would ask, ask some other questions just to try to get like,
Yeah. I think this is an area where watching you has really helped.
Yeah.
And then I definitely think I improved from the first video to this one.
Yeah.
Just trying to get them to recognize the concept in the question, not just answer the question itself. And I think sometimes they will just answer it to check off their do now and just get through things. And then hopefully the deeper answers come out in the discussion and they can add to it or change it or say what they need to, because it should reveal that. And then repeating it several times while it's while we're doing the discussion, so that people hear it multiple times, and then they'll still ask you to say it again one more time. But
and give them the prompt, just give them the starters of some answers, and they can elaborate on that.
I need to get better at just recognize when I'm just answering the question for them, or when because I'll get distracted too still during class, so it's like I need to tell myself to slow down too, not just them. It's a little bit of both.
No, and again, giving enough time for someone to think and then to share. I know maybe later on we could just focus on using what we call it the strategy, like think, pair, share. So like think about the question, like pair or talk to someone next to you, discuss that, and then we'll come back together, and so they can be a little bit more confident, to share out loud. Yes, practicing before. So this is something that we could use that strategy. But that's perfect. Okay, standard 3, learning environment. So again, we're looking at the active engagement in the class, and we're looking at the seating arrangement, as well as so last time when they had the activity about the simulation, they were asked to graph the data that they had, and then kind of answering questions about the graph and the data. So and I as well, like, you try to explain, because some of them, they are new to some of the tools that they need to use when it comes to draw the graph. But I mean, you gave them some time to explore that tool, and then you show them, you demonstrate that, and then they started working on it. Some of them they had other way, which worked, so
which was great.
You gave them the choice if they want to use that or another tool to do the job. So that was a great thing. So I mean, so they had the time to work with someone at their table, giving each other feedback about the questions about the graph, what they understand from that. So this is a time that was needed, and as I said, you were moving from one group to another group. And again, as I said, I know, like, looking back at their movement during the class time, again, we're talking about the last block of the day. It's a big day. So
that's and I wasn't sure. It's funny because, like, I know that was one thing where I felt maybe we could have incorporated a little more in the lesson, but with that class in particularly, I felt like it might have been more of a distraction, just because of the day and the shortened time. It just seemed like, and I felt like they were pretty engaged too. So it was kind of like, if I were to stop and take a break or do something like that, it might not be very effective. They're a big class, getting them back in might be tough sometimes, where the Do Now does a good job of getting them to slow down, start class, start to engage individually. Then they were able to collaborate in the next activity later on, and it went well. So I felt like trying to do much more than that might have been difficult to bring them back in. And you can kind of see that too, actually, when we go to introduce the Frere model. They were still engaged, but it might, it was also getting towards the end of class, and so it's kind of like more of an introduction. We couldn't do much with it, and we wanted to get them, into the exit ticket too. So it was kind of like the end of class got really fast, and there wasn't much time to try to incorporate like any kind of break or anything along those lines. So that's kind of where it's easy to say that looking back after watching the video, but maybe I intuitively felt it during class too. I'm not sure, but
I'm thinking about that part. So even like introducing something that would be helpful, let's say for the next class, so somehow they would have an idea about it, and then they will start working on it. But as I said, it's just thinking also about when we give the, let's say, the instructions about a specific activity, how we want to make sure just like everyone is like, you know, on the same page and engaged, or but again, I would say maybe also the level of, you know, using the teacher's voice somehow. This is something we could
I definitely need to work on that. I think I'm naturally like low, and I feel like when I raise my voice, I feel like I'm yelling at people. So it's like hard to get past. I think that's what it's hard to get past, where I'll hear myself and then I'll be like, oh no, did I come off as like, you know, intimidating or mean, or do they think I'm like, you know, but I know that's not the case.
It's not the case. It's just the teacher's voice. So like just to make it like, you know, loud enough for everybody, because also it's a big class. And the space here, so so this is maybe something that we could practice, you know, the teacher's voice, to grab their attention. And again, even like when they work on something and you want to get their attention, again, you could use the, you know, the claps, and then they would clap back.
And the 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
I think that works. That works good. Sometimes the clap, though, I don't know if they think it's funny or what, but I feel like the 3, 2, 1 is effective, and but you need both, and you know, and trying to monitor people from across the room is kind of difficult sometimes too, when you're focusing in one place. It's, you know, that'll be definitely an area where I can improve too.
And one thing also, just while they're working on the activity, as we said, like using the reflection chart that we have about their engagement level. So again, like while you're walking it out, just refer to that, like here you're asking questions, so here we go, +2. Let's say they're off task, let's get back on track, because this is like -1, so let's make sure that by the end of the class, you know.
I think that, and I'm definitely getting better with their names, but I still, I don't have the confidence yet. You know, it's like I do with some, but I'm still, which will help it'll help move things along quicker. You know, direct, I think a little better too. So I'm getting.
Sure, you know, and it's the second class, so like the second lesson. So this is like great. So I will be looking at that. So we will see here when we talk about just for us to be the facilitator during the class time as well. So like once they're given the clear instructions, and just watching them working, and then just being, you know, helping each group when it's needed.
That's something I try to do too, is
that
like
feedback.
Not just jump in and answer something, but direct them to the, you know, really trying to instigate the collaboration with their partner or table mates.
Exactly.
And because some students just really don't want to work together, so it's you know, you have to kind of force the issue a little bit.
I mean, just to, you know, emphasize that, you know, like we want to learn to work with everybody, right? So